Discover the 3 shocking foods seniors must avoid with eggs for amazing health transformation. In the stillness of his quaint Midwestern town, Frank, a 75-year-old widowed war veteran, stood at the threshold of his kitchen, a room once bursting with life and laughter. Now, it echoed with silence, each corner holding a tender memory of his beloved wife, Betty. The scent of her famous omelets still lingered, a bittersweet reminder of sun-drenched mornings filled with steaming cups of coffee and smiles. He peered into the pantry, stocked with quick-fix meals that lacked the warmth of her lovingly crafted dishes. Life had become a bitter struggle against loneliness. Every Sunday, his devoted daughter, Sarah, visited, attempting to breathe warmth back into the chilly air of their home. She would enter with a bright smile, countering the shadows that clawed at Frank's heart. But each meal they shared revealed the toll of his widowhood. As they sat at their small kitchen table, the echoes of family gatherings mingled with the comfortable clinks of their utensils. Yet, underneath the surface of their gentle conversation, there loomed an unsettling tension. Sarah's loving concern tangled with her anxiety over Frank's reliance on cold convenience foods. Then it happened. As Sarah thumbed through the local paper, she stumbled upon an article that made her heart race. 3 shocking foods seniors must avoid with eggs for amazing health transformation. Her breath caught in her throat. Eggs, his beloved breakfast staple, the centerpiece of their shared memories. In Frank's eyes, those eggs weren't just food. They represented love, connection, and the beauty of the life they'd built together. "Dad," she said tentatively, placing the article in front of him, "we need to think about your health. It's changing, and maybe we should explore what these articles say." The storm began brewing. For Frank, eggs symbolized comfort, the ultimate bonding experience of shared breakfasts. Now, Sarah, empowered by New Age knowledge, introduced kale salads and quinoa bowls, igniting a battle of wills. As the air thickened with disagreement, he felt a chokehold of stubbornness tighten. Their meals, once marked by laughter, turned into a battleground, each bite steeped in conflict. As potluck day drew near, an undertow of urgency stirred in both of them. Neighbors rallied, bringing comforting dishes that conjured memories of laughter and festivity. Frank's heart twisted. Could he abandon the flavors of love? The old recipes had been his refuge. He felt small and vulnerable, dwarfed by the potential change looming outside his door. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, leaving Frank caught between memories that warmed his heart and the reality of what he needed to consider for his health. An unexpected health scare rattled his world, forcing him to confront his vulnerabilities head-on. Was it time to let go of what was familiar? Could he open himself up to Sarah's love in the form of new recipes? In this tumultuous sea of change, one question remained. Would he dare to embrace the shifts life was presenting to him, or would he remain anchored in the past, clutching onto what felt safe, yet ultimately isolated? As the days slipped away, the flat winter sun began to cast long shadows across Frank's kitchen. He watched the world outside his window, the snowflakes dancing down, each flake unique but all melting into a sameness on the ground. It mirrored his own turmoil. Each passing hour deepened the weight in his chest, a blend of nostalgia and fear. Sarah called him on Thursday afternoon. Her voice was bright, but he could sense the hesitation beneath it. "Dad, I was thinking, what if you experimented with just one new dish this week? Just one? It could be fun." Frank felt his heart flutter. Fun? How could she even suggest such a thing when his memories were steeped in the rich aroma of his mother's pot roast and Betty's fragrant herb omelets? They were a tapestry of his past, the crumbling stitches now barely holding together. "Sarah," he sighed, running his hand through his thinning hair. "I don't know. All this change, it feels like losing you too." There was silence on the other end, thick and heavy, before she replied softly, "Dad, we're just evolving. It doesn't take away the love we shared." He wished he could absorb her words, but they fought against his instinct to cling to the memories. Even making breakfast felt like walking a tightrope. Each time he cracked an egg open, he could almost hear Betty laughing, their kitchen filled with the warmth of family. But now, those simple acts stirred anxiety rather than comfort. As the potluck drew closer, the neighbors buzzed with excitement. Frank found himself alone at his kitchen table, a half-empty carton of eggs beside him, its familiar weight unsteady in his hands. He hesitated. Instead of breakfast, he opened his laptop, staring at the article that sparked it all. The words seemed sharper under the glow of the screen. 3 shocking foods seniors must avoid with eggs was more than mere advice. It clawed at his heart, questioning the very foundation on which he built his life. Peeking out the window again, he caught sight of Sarah, bundled up against the cold, arriving with bags filled with vegetables, fresh herbs, and grains. Defensively, he shut the laptop and moved to the pantry. Inside, his old recipe cards lay nestled in a cramped space, gathering dust. With a gentle pull, he unearthed them. Each card was an intimate story, a personal history of love shared across the dining room table. Cards for pot roast, chicken soup, and of course, her loved omelet variations filled with colorful vegetables. An unexpected knock on the back door pulled him from his reverie. It was Sarah, her cheeks flushed and eyes bright with excitement. "I'm ready to cook, Dad. Just you wait." As they shuffled into the kitchen together, Frank's heart raced. Their kitchen felt different now, alive with anticipation rather than resignation. "Okay," he heard himself say, surprising even himself. "Just one dish." The smile that lit up Sarah's face could have rivaled the sun outside. Frank watched as she busily unfolded her plans, but still, doubt lingered in the back of his mind. The flavor of change tasted bitter. What if all of this turned them into strangers? But as he grabbed an egg, he had to wonder, was it a step toward healing or merely more of the same? For the first time, he realized that vulnerability might not be a foe but a chance to rekindle the light that had dimmed in his life. Was it time to let go of needing to hold on to the past? Just as he opened the carton, a sudden thought struck him like a lightning bolt, setting his heart racing. What if this new recipe could preserve old memories while creating new ones? Could he truly open his heart to what lay ahead? As the first egg cracked, the sound echoed around the kitchen, mingling with possibilities starting to unfold. But then he paused, caught in the moment of choice. Would he risk everything to create a nourishing future, or retreat into the shadows of what once was? The crisp shell shattered under his thumb, spilling its golden content into the mixing bowl. He inhaled deeply, catching the unmistakable scent of potential. Sarah stood beside him, her excitement palpable as she busied herself with fresh herbs and vegetables. He felt his heart quicken. "Okay, Dad, let us start with something simple," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling. "How about a vegetable frittata? We can throw in everything we like." It felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The thought of making something new sank into his bones, a mixture of trepidation and curiosity. He glanced at the old recipe cards one last time, their well-loved edges curling like the fond memories they held. Was he really ready to blend the past with something fresh? But as he cracked more eggs, their rich, creamy interiors mixing evenly, Frank sensed something shifting. He found himself smiling softly at Sarah as she chopped the vibrant bell peppers and onions, her laughter ringing in the air. It reminded him of sunny mornings, the rhythm of life in their kitchen, echoing in tandem with the laughter of family. "Dad," she said, looking at him as she tossed in the vegetables. "How about some basil and a pinch of cheese?" "Betty always added a touch of love," he said, remembering the way his late wife would sprinkle her own blend of spices, transforming the ordinary into something extraordinary. "Exactly," Sarah beamed back. "This will be our version. The love stays the same, just the flavors change." Frank nodded slowly. The kitchen felt alive, almost buzzing as they blended flavors, memories, and the uncertainty of their new journey. Each stir of the whisk sent ripples of doubt away, making room for a budding optimism. He could feel warmth creeping back into his heart, the shadows retreating ever so slightly. They poured the mixture into a hot skillet, the sizzle resonating, enveloping them in a familiar embrace. As the frittata cooked, Frank tensed. Had he made the right choice? Could he bear the thought of stepping entirely away from the beautiful tapestry woven from his past? "You okay, Dad?" Sarah paused, concern creasing her forehead as she turned to him. "Yeah." he said, the word catching in his throat. I'm just thinking. What about? He sighed. What if this goes wrong? What if the neighbors don't like it? She stepped closer, her hand resting on his. Then we'll try again. We always have. This is about more than just the food. It's about us together. Together. The word dug into his heart, carving out a space for renewal. Frank watched as steam rose, swirling up to meet the air above as the frittata cooked to a golden perfection. The colors danced in the pan like treasured moments waiting to be tasted. With one last glance at his recipe cards, he tucked them away once more. They would always be dear, but it was time to make space for new recipes, new laughter, new memories. Just as he felt ready to serve the frittata to the table, a loud knock echoed through the kitchen. Startled, they exchanged glances. Who could that be? Frank wondered aloud. Maybe it's the neighbors, Sarah exclaimed, her excitement bubbling over again. Frank's pulse quickened as he wiped his hands on a kitchen towel, stepping closer to the door, heart racing with anticipation of what lay beyond. Was he ready to embrace this moment, along with whoever stood waiting outside? As he turned the knob, he readied himself for whatever revelation awaited him. Would this be the first step toward embracing this new chapter, or a moment that would pull him deeper into uncertainty? As Frank turned the knob, his heart thudded like a drumbeat in his chest. The anticipation sent a rush of adrenaline through him. He opened the door, and the warm afternoon light spilled into the kitchen, illuminating the close-knit space. Standing on the front porch was Mrs. Henderson, the neighbor from across the street. Her usual bright smile looked a little dim, replaced instead by a look of concern. "Frank, dear, is everything all right?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with worry. Yeah, everything's fine," he replied, glancing back at Sarah, who was peeking from around the kitchen corner. "Just trying a new recipe with Sarah." "Oh goodness, I hope I'm not interrupting," she said, her eyes darting from Frank to Sarah. "Not at all. You're just in time. We're making a frittata," Sarah chimed in, her enthusiasm cutting through the tension that had settled in the room. Mrs. Henderson cracked a smile at Sarah's excitement, but her brow furrowed a moment later. "Actually, I came over to talk to you about something important. It's about the neighborhood. It's been rather distressing. Some families have been facing difficulties lately." Frank's stomach tightened. The mention of difficulties sent ripples of unease through the joyful atmosphere he and Sarah had been building. What kind of difficulties? "Some folks are having a tough time with their jobs, financial struggles, you know how it is these days." She looked down, her voice softening. "I didn't want to impose. I thought maybe you two could help out a bit. You always have a way of bringing people together." "Of course," Frank replied, the old instincts of togetherness weaved into his tone. The kitchen, vibrant and rich with scents, now felt like a small haven against the larger struggles outside. "We'd love to help." "Great. You could maybe host a potluck? It's always nice to share a meal and support one another. With everyone together, it helps to lift spirits," she suggested tentatively. Frank exchanged glances with Sarah. The idea settled deeply within him, merging with the warmth already filling the kitchen. "Absolutely. We can gather everyone this weekend," he responded, his voice firmer now. "Wonderful." Mrs. Henderson's eyes brightened briefly before they clouded again with worry. "Just remember to check in on those who may not reach out. Sometimes people feel too proud to ask for help." Feeling the weight of her words, Frank nodded solemnly. As she turned to leave, a lingering silence fell over the kitchen. Sarah broke it first. "Dad, we can do this," she said softly, stepping closer to him. "I know this isn't what you expected today, but it feels right, doesn't it?" Frank took a deep breath, feeling a swell of gratitude for her presence. "Yeah, it does. I wasn't sure how stepping into the future would feel, but this is how we start." They turned back toward the stove, where the frittata sat, bubbling and fragrant. Stepping away from their private grief, they had found a way to share love not just in the kitchen, but beyond the walls. Suddenly, the doorbell rang again. "Bet that's another neighbor interested in the potluck." Sarah grinned as she moved toward the door. "Let us see," Frank smiled, a mix of nerves and excitement swirling in him. What awaited them on the other side? He stepped back, feeling a sense of connection forming with every ring of the bell. What if this wasn't just about food? What if this was about healing the community? As they opened the door again, Frank felt another thrill, one that would ignite a deeper journey toward kindness and solidarity, even as whispers of sadness lingered. What awaited them on the other side could bring even more flavor to their new chapter. When Frank opened the door, he was met not just with another neighbor, but with Mr. Daniels, a tall man in his late 50s with graying hair and a weary expression. He was an unexpected sight, standing there on the threshold, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his worn jeans. "Hey, Mr. Daniels," Frank greeted, trying to mask his surprise. "Come on in." "Thanks," Mr. Daniels muttered, stepping inside. His eyes flickered around the kitchen, taking in the familiar sights but with a hint of something else longing, perhaps. "Sarah's making a frittata," she called out cheerfully, tilting her head with a smile. Frank felt the tension shift slightly. "We're also planning a potluck on Saturday," he added, hoping to spark some joy. "You and your family should come." Mr. Daniels hesitated. "Yeah, maybe. I'll have to see how things go." He paused, fiddling with the hem of his shirt. "Things have been a bit tight around here lately." The air grew heavy. Frank's heart ached. He knew the Daniels family had always been quiet, avoiding asking for help even when they obviously needed it. "Is there anything we can do to help?" Frank offered, glancing at Sarah. Her hopeful gaze silently urged their neighbor to share. Mr. Daniels sighed, the weight of his troubles evident in the furrow of his brow. "It's just work. I got laid off last month, and I'm struggling to figure things out. My wife has been taking on extra hours, but it's still not enough to make ends meet." Frank felt a knot in his stomach. He wanted to reach out, to say something encouraging, but the words were stuck in his throat. They hovered there like uninvited guests. "Maybe it's time to ask the neighborhood for support," Sarah suggested softly. "We could help you guys out too." Mr. Daniels gave a small shake of his head, though a flicker of resolve crossed his features. "I don't want to put anyone out. I appreciate the offer, really." "Mr. Daniels," Frank began with a firm yet gentle tone, "you wouldn't be putting us out. Community is what we're here for. That's why we're throwing the potluck. It's about coming together." With a sigh, Mr. Daniels seemed to soften, vulnerability creeping into his features. Maybe you're right. I just never thought I'd be in this position." "Life can throw curveballs," Frank said, feeling a connection deepen. "Sharing our burdens makes them a little lighter." Sarah smiled, warmth radiating from her small frame. "You've helped us before, Mr. Daniels. It'll be good to have everyone together again." Mr. Daniels nodded slowly. "All right, I'll talk to my wife. See if she can carve out the evening." He hesitated, studying Frank. "Thank you, really. It means a lot." The warmth in Frank's chest spread. Here they were, a family discovering how to take steps toward healing together. Just as Frank was about to suggest they all help cook, the doorbell chimed again, interrupting them. Who could that be now? He wondered, feeling intrigue tingle in the air once more. "Let us go see," Sarah exclaimed, already bouncing towards the door. Frank followed, a growing curiosity bubbling within him. Each visitor held a story, a chance for connection. What would this one bring? But as he reached for the doorknob, a flicker of anxiety crossed his mind. Was he ready for yet another set of challenges, another layer of stories waiting at their doorstep? The moment of truth was approaching. Whatever lay beyond the door could shift everything yet again. Frank opened the door slowly, heart pounding. He braced for an unexpected turn, but the friendly face of Mrs. Thompson, a sprightly older woman known for her garden and staunch opinions on just about everything, greeted him. "Hello, dear. I hope it's not too much of a bother," she chirped, her eyes sparkling like the sun bursting through clouds. "Not at all, Mrs. Thompson. Come on in," Frank said, gesturing her inside. Mrs. Thompson stepped through, her floral dress swirling like a burst of color. "Goodness, it smells wonderful in here. Is that frittata I smell?" Sarah beamed, her cheeks flushed with pride. "Yes, I'm making it with fresh herbs from the market." "Oh, you always were good with herbs. I'll have you teach me." Mrs. Thompson laughed, then turned serious. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." "Just discussing the potluck," Frank said, glancing back at Mr. Daniels, who stood slightly apart with a renewed softness about him. "Potluck? Count me in. I'll bring my famous potato salad, the one with just the right amount of dill," she declared with the gusto of a chef unveiling their masterpiece. "How's Mr. Daniels? I heard things have been rough." Frank's heart sank. He glanced at Mr. Daniels, who had stiffened again. "He's managing," Frank replied, hoping to shift the focus. "We're all helping each other out." Mrs. Thompson's smile faded slightly, replaced by genuine concern. "Dear, when I was down on my luck, it was my neighbors who rallied around me. How about we take a little collection for the Daniels, just to get them through this rough patch?" Frank couldn't help but feel a swell of hope. "That's a wonderful idea, and you're right. It's time we come together as a community." He watched Mr. Daniels shift uncomfortably, a mix of embarrassment and appreciation clouding his expression. "I really don't want charity," Mr. Daniels said, shaking his head. "Just being invited is more than enough." "Think of it as a neighborly nudge," Mrs. Thompson insisted gently. "And maybe we can help with the kids. Saturday will be a good way to catch up and remind ourselves that we're all in this together. A community is like a garden. It flourishes when everyone tends to it." Frank could feel every pair of eyes in the room on Mr. Daniels. There was an air of collective support swirling around them, a promise of solidarity. The warmth in the room felt alive, pulsating with the urgency of unspoken resolves. Mr. Daniels shifted again, his defenses seeming to lower just a little. Maybe it's okay to accept a little help. Times are tough, and I suppose we can't do it all alone." Suddenly, the tension broke like a wave against the shore. Sarah stepped forward, her bright eyes shimmering. "Then it's settled. Let us put all hands on deck for the potluck." Just then, the doorbell rang again, echoing through the moment. Frank's heart lurched. "What now? More friends?" Mrs. Thompson grinned. "This is turning into a lovely gathering." "Or more surprises," Frank murmured, glancing again at the doorknob. As he reached to open it, a pulse of excitement mixed with anxiety ran through him. What awaited them? Would it be another neighbor in need? Or perhaps one who held answers to the questions fluttering in the air? He turned the knob slowly, bracing himself for whatever story or challenge lay hidden behind the door. The door swung open to reveal two familiar faces framed in the dim light of the hallway. It was the Reynolds, the couple who had moved in last summer. They were the kind of neighbors who waved warmly but often kept to themselves, their lives shrouded in an air of mystery that Frank had always found intriguing. "Hi there," Mrs. Reynolds said, a smile breaking across her face, a platter of what looked like brownies in her hands. "We heard about the potluck and wanted to drop by to see if we could contribute." "Hello. Come in, please," Frank exclaimed, stepping back to let them through. He glanced at Sarah and Mrs. Thompson, whose faces lit up with smiles. "This is such a nice surprise." As they settled into the cozy kitchen, the air filled with a new wave of warmth. Mrs. Reynolds placed the platter on the table with a flourish. "These are my special brownies made with a little something extra," she said, winking. "I hope that's okay." Mr. Reynolds, his salt and pepper hair blending casually with his plaid shirt, chuckled. "Don't let her fool you. They may taste different, but they're delightful, trust me." Frank shared a laugh, relieved to feel the atmosphere lighten. Yet, deep in his mind, a nagging curiosity buzzed. What was the something extra they were hiding? He pushed it aside for now, wanting to enjoy the moment. Mrs. Thompson clapped her hands together. "Well, it seems we have a full house. Perfect for planning and cooking for Saturday. Imagine the joy it will bring." As they reminisced about past gatherings and what to bring to the potluck, Frank watched Mr. Daniels quietly from the corner of his eye. The man seemed at ease, laughing softly at a joke exchanged among the others, but a sadness lingered in his eyes like an unfinished sentence. Finally, Mrs. Thompson turned toward Mr. Daniels. "We're so glad you'll be joining us, you know. It really does help when we lean on one another." Mr. Daniels cleared his throat, then nodded, his expression firming as if he were struggling to gain his voice. "Thank you all, really. It means more than you know." Just then, there was a soft knock on the door, causing everyone to pause. Frank felt that familiar mix of hope and apprehension. He exchanged glances with Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. "Another surprise?" she whispered, a smile tugging at her lips. With a deep breath, he approached the door. It felt heavy in his hand, laden with possibility. As he pulled it open, his heart raced at the sight before him. Standing on the porch was a figure shrouded in a jacket, looking uncertain under the evening sky. Beneath the surface of Frank's excitement lay a wave of dread. "Can I help you?" Frank asked, scanning for any recognition, a twinge of unease curling in his stomach. The stranger took a tentative step forward, raising their gaze. "I was told I could find help here." Frank felt tension knot in his chest. Who was this person, and what kind of help were they seeking? The room behind him quieted, curiosity mingling with concern. He could sense that whatever unfolded next would change the course of their evening, perhaps their lives. Frank took a step back, inviting them in. Come in. We can talk. As the stranger crossed the threshold, Frank felt the weight of every eye in the room. The air shimmered with unspoken questions. What story were they about to unfold? What secrets waited to be revealed? The figure stepped into the warm light of the kitchen, and as they moved closer, Frank's initial apprehension slowly morphed into genuine curiosity. The stranger's face was partially obscured by a hood, but their eyes, wide and shimmering, glimmered with a mixture of anxiety and hope. Hi. The stranger stammered, lowering their hood to reveal a young woman, maybe in her early 20s. Her long, dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her cheeks flushed with an embarrassed hue. I'm sorry to intrude. I heard there was a community potluck, and I thought maybe I might find some help. Frank shared a quick glance with Sarah, who wore a concerned smile, her brow creasing as she analyzed the situation. Mr. Daniels had shifted toward the kitchen counter, his attention now completely captivated by the young woman. Help? In what way? Frank asked gently, motioning for her to take a seat at the table, still laden with the Reynolds brownies and various ingredients for the potluck planned for Saturday. The young woman hesitated, glancing at the other faces surrounding her, then back at Frank with a glimmer of determination. I've been having a rough time lately. I just moved back after some family stuff. Her voice trembled with emotion, and Frank felt a tightness in his throat as he nodded, encouraging her to continue. I'm not really sure how to start over. I was hoping, maybe, that being around some people I don't know, help me feel less alone. The last word escaped with an almost breathless relief, as if finally saying it had lightened her burden just slightly. The room was quiet, the laughter and chatter from before now muted by the weight of her confession. Frank felt the eyes of everyone in the room focused on the newcomer, empathy threading through the hearts of his friend's selflessness sparking a connection. Of course, you're welcome to join us, Mrs. Thompson said, her voice warm and assuring. We're all about community here. Why don't you tell us your name and maybe share a special recipe with us? My name is Lily, she replied shyly, taking a seat at the table. The warmth of acceptance wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, and everyone smiled encouragingly. Lily, would you like to help us bake something for the potluck? Sarah asked, shifting the mood back to something lighter. The young woman's face lit up, though her underlying sadness persisted in her eyes. I could do that. I used to love baking with my grandmother back home. As they dove into discussion about favorite dishes, Mrs. Reynolds leaned over to Frank. We should share the brownies, she said softly with a wry smile. I bet she's going to shake things up in the best way. Lily laughed for the first time, a sweet sound that echoed through the kitchen. It was like a fragile flower blooming amidst the chaos, and Frank savored the moment. Yet, even as warmth enveloped them, he couldn't shake the feeling that Lily was hiding something. A flicker of unease beneath the surface of her smile, as the group began gathering ingredients. His thoughts spiraled back to Mr. Daniels, who was quietly observing the exchange, his sadness now mixed with a hint of curiosity about this stranger. The whole scenario felt like a tapestry woven of shared struggles and unspoken stories. Just then, Frank's phone buzzed on the counter, startling everyone. He stepped away from the group to check it, curiosity coiling in his stomach. The message had a name he didn't expect to see, his estranged brother. Frank, you should see this, he muttered, his heart pounding. The relieved laughter from the kitchen faded as he read the text, a chilling statement that sent shockwaves through him. I need to talk. It's important. Can we meet? Now, a new knot of tension began to form in his chest. What did that mean for tonight? For Lily? For everyone? Frank turned back, ready to face the others again, just when a sense of urgency settled in. Something was about to unfold, and he wasn't sure if he was prepared for it. Frank took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside him. The kitchen, once filled with laughter and warmth, now felt suffocating. It had been years since he had any contact with his brother, years mixed with resentment, regret, and uncertainty. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever his brother wanted to discuss wouldn't be good. He returned to the group, forcing a smile as he stepped back into the gentle buzz of conversation around the kitchen. Mrs. Reynolds was passing around a bowl of frosting for the brownies, and Sarah was talking animatedly about some sort of game plan for the potluck. But his focus drifted to Lily, who was now measuring flour with meticulous care. She seemed so lost yet so determined to find her place. He admired her effort to belong and wondered if she sensed his inner turmoil or if her own struggles consumed her thoughts. "Hey, you all right?" Sarah's voice pulled him back. She was watching him closely, eyes probing. It was kind of her, but he didn't want to unload right now. "Yeah, just," he started but caught himself. "Everything's good." Lily glanced up, her brow momentarily furrowing, picking up on their exchange. She offered a reassuring smile, but it seemed tinged with something deeper. Perhaps she understood more about feeling displaced than she let on. Just then, Mr. Daniels broke the tension. "You know, life has a funny way of bringing us together, doesn't it?" he said, watching Lily with a twinkle of wisdom in his eyes. "Sometimes we just need a little nudge in the right direction." Lily nodded, a hint of sadness returning to her eyes. "Exactly. I guess I'm hoping for a fresh start. But it's tough, you know? I keep looking over my shoulder." Frank felt that. He recognized the shared vulnerability that hung in the air. "A fresh start takes time," he said tentatively. "But you've made a step already. You're here." "Yeah," she murmured, her fingers playing nervously with the edge of the measuring cup. "Not sure if my family agrees with my decision to come back." Frank bit his lip, his brother's message nagging at him. "Family is complicated," he said softly, before changing the subject. "What is your grandmother's special recipe?" The gentle smile returned to her face as she told them about her grandmother's secret pie that never failed to sweeten their family gatherings. His heart lifted a little, momentarily pushed away from the weight of his own worries. Time slipped by as the sun began to set outside, casting a golden glow through the kitchen window. The group settled into a rhythm, mixing, laughing, and sharing stories. A sense of unity began to build as the aroma of baking filled the room. Just as Frank felt himself relaxing into the moment, his phone buzzed again, drawing him away. "Another message?" asked Sarah, sipping a cup of coffee. "Yeah, my brother," he replied, holding the phone close. As he read, shock ran through him. The words were more alarming than before. "I'm sorry for everything. It's about Mom. You need to know the truth." A sudden chill washed over him. The warmth of the kitchen faded into a distant hum as the reality of the situation hit him hard. He looked back at Lily, who was now deep in conversation with Mrs. Thompson about baking techniques, laughter spilling from them. It was clear she had found a small sense of belonging in that moment. Frank felt a weight on his chest, both for Lily and for the revelations waiting for him ahead. The darkness associated with family secrets loomed large, and he was caught between the thrill of a new beginning and the shadows of the past. What was this truth? What could it change? With uncertainty gripping his heart, he stepped outside, the cool night air biting at his skin. The stars flickered above him like distant hopes. He was ready to uncover the hidden layers of his past. But at what cost? Would it destroy the warmth that had begun to bloom within moments of connection? Frank took a deep breath, bracing himself for what awaited him next. The cold night air wrapped around Frank like a heavy cloak, the weight of his brother's text pressing down on him. He could hear the cheerful sounds of laughter and chatter spilling from the kitchen behind him, a vibrant contrast to the turmoil brewing within. His heart was torn. On one side, the budding connection with Sarah, the neighbors, and even Lily filled him with a warmth he thought long gone. Yet on the other, his brother's message threatened to unravel everything. As he gazed up at the stars, he felt a flicker of hope, but also a pang of dread. Family carried with it warmth and pain, both clinging tightly. He thought of all the moments shared, all the laughter echoed within those kitchen walls, and the thought of returning to family discord felt like stepping into the shadows again. He needed to make a choice. After gathering himself, he returned to the kitchen, the aroma of baked goods wrapping around him like a cozy embrace. The laughter grew louder as he stepped inside, igniting a sense of belonging. Sarah greeted him with a smile, her eyes sparkling like the stars outside, yet filled with a knowing concern. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, shifting her weight to one side. Her presence was grounding, a reminder that he wasn't alone. Frank nodded, though uncertainty lingered like a fog. "Yeah, just thinking." He glanced at Lily, her hands busy pouring batter into a pie dish. A sense of purpose radiated from her, a light in the midst of her own struggle. The way everyone was working together filled Frank with more warmth than he anticipated. "Do you think we're really ready for this potluck?" he asked Sarah, his voice steady despite the whirlwind in his mind. She beamed brightly, her joy infectious. "We're ready, Dad. This is what we've been waiting for." Her enthusiasm made him smile. She was right. This gathering offered healing in a way he and T expected. Every laugh shared, every recipe exchanged felt like a stitch in the fabric of their community, mending the worn edges. It was more than just food. It was connection, and it was real. And just like that, the tension in his chest began to ease. Maybe confronting his brother could wait a little longer. Maybe being present with those around him was exactly what he needed. Moments later, they finished baking, the table quickly transforming into a colorful spread of dishes. Neighbors filled the space with dishes that held memories of their families, each creation a thread weaving their stories together. The doorbell rang again, and Sarah hopped to answer, brimming with excitement. As she opened the door, Frank caught sight of Mr. Daniel's family arriving. They seemed hesitant but hopeful, a sign that his invitation had morphed into something larger than he'd anticipated. Watching their smiles unfurl was like watching flowers bloom in early spring. Frank stepped forward, heart racing with anticipation. "Welcome. We're so glad you made it," he greeted, embracing the ambience of community. "Thanks for having us. Smells amazing." Mr. Daniels smiled, glancing around. His wife brought a tray of cookies, sharing a knowing glance with Frank. They all understood. This wasn't just about the food. Soon, laughter erupted as they began serving, the kitchen bursting with chatter and connection. Frank couldn't help but glance at Lily as she shared her grandmother's recipe, and he found her story resonating like his own journey of returning and rediscovering. "Family is who you choose," Mrs. Thompson declared, raising her cup. "Here's to building a new kind of community together." Everyone cheered, clinking glasses as warmth settled over them like a warm blanket against the chill outside. Frank felt the glow in his chest expand. It wasn't just the food or the memories. It was more. It was love, healing, and a connection deeper than blood could ever create. He understood then that he could embrace the past while forging a more promising future. As discussions flowed, he felt ready. With Lily's spirit around him and Sarah's encouragement in his heart, he knew whatever awaited him beyond the door's weather. It was his brother or something more would not collapse the foundations he was rebuilding here. That night, surrounded by loving neighbors, he learned that vulnerability was a bridge. One that led to not only future laughter, but also deeper connections that could embrace every shadow, every light. In that moment, as he clinked his glass, he felt a ripple of calm. Life was a tapestry, forever changing yet beautifully woven together, one thread at a time. That as the potluck stirred with life, Frank took a deep breath, his heart full. Now, it was time to write the next chapter, starting tonight. And you can be part of this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.